sponsor,
Ah.
Manscaped.
Uh-huh.
You know, have you tried the new equipment that's been sent?
I'm afraid because it says weed whacker. I'm scared.
Maven, Manscaped. What are you thinking about
Love it.
Manscaped, dude?
Love it.
What do you use it for?
Necessity. What don't I use it for? Put it this way. The only hair I have on my entire body is these eyebrows.
Yeah.
That you see. These
Wow.
caterpillars racing to the middle of my nose. That's it.
That is it.
That's all I have. And that's all I want.
That's the
So
big-
Manscaped is a
You-
must.
We were talking before the show. There's nothing worse than just hair.
Yeah.
Right? Hair on a woman, hair on a man. It's just bad.
Absolutely. And it's the one thing that the older I get, it starts growing more in unwanted areas.
Absolutely.
I hate it.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
Just going to go out there.
Oh, boy.
Go for it.
You're doing a deed.
Yes.
Again, I don't want you to have to admit this because we, as men, we try not to admit this. But if you're going to
Oh,
go
I
do
know
the deed
where-
on a
I
woman,
know where
would you
he's
rather
going.
have her be hairless or a little hair, racing stripe, or
Racing stripe.
full retro bush?
Well,
Racing stripe.
Retro Bush is out.
Yes, thank you.
Retro Bush is out.
Yeah.
I don't mind a small, well manicured landing strip. Every now and then, if it's completely, and I'm talking like baby's ass bald, then I start. Where is that pedophilia line? I don't want to
Wow.
wander into that.
That's
thought
very
of it like
interesting.
that.
I never thought about that. You're a
Wow.
smart dude. Holy shit.
So if the landing strip is clean enough for the plane to go in smoothly, you're cool with that?
If the landing strip has, like I said, well manicured,
Yeah,
you can see both sides. It's not
Like blinking lights on both sides of that
I
landing?
just don't. I don't want. I don't want the shrubbery going off into unwanted areas on that as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Oh, look
but-
what you found. Ooh.
I got to be all honest though. Hey, the older I get though, I don't think I can be as
I found it! I found
have
it!
you ever gone down there and like just like she slowly brings down the underwear? Then
What is
retro? Just,
Absolutely.
You're like, whoa!
Wow.
Yeah,
like,
I'm
like
46,
it
of
pops
course.
out?
Do you like walk out or what do you do?
No, I muster through. I muster up the courage to get
He's a
through.
trooper. He's a trooper. Got to give him an A.
Oh, not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah,
There you go.
I hear you.
There you
Listen,
go.
I couldn't
Super
say.
Bush.
I couldn't say. Well, if you have the same beliefs as Maven, does Manscaped could help you?
Absolutely.
The weed whacker.
Absolutely.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that I may have to, go in a room, close the door, and hang out with the weed whacker for a little while.
Yeah, I think you're a retro guy, aren't you?
I like 70s adult films, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
But
only
with that,
Ron
we're going to take a
Jeremy,
quick
Batman.
commercial break, and we'll be
Anyway.
back with this wrestling icon, Maven. Friends over there, don't you ever reach out and say, "Yo, what's up? Hook up."
Well, I'm ashamed to say I said that to him once. I said, "Hey, Bubba, what's going on in these booking meetings? Why ain't I getting a good deal on this?" And he goes, "You're not nobody's favorite. Nobody's bringing you up in the booking meetings." I go, "What about you?" He goes, "Well, yeah, but I got my own stuff to bring up." And this is when you said he was booking.
Yeah,
right?
right,
He
yeah.
didn't tell me that, but he said that nobody was bringing my name up in the booking meetings, so I was being overlooked, which is ridiculous. If they're flying me in, why overlook me? Other than Eric Bischoff and those guys
But
were
you-
purposely trying to make the show bad.
But you just said, "What about you?" Right?
Okay, he didn't really have an answer for that.
Oh, now you turned me the other way. Now I'm mad.
Now
again.
he's back to being
Now I'm back.
Now
again.
he's back to get the tables and put him through it. This is unbelievable.
And that's one thing, I like Bubba and I love Devon. I love them both a lot. But like then he called me when Melissa died. But
Okay.
It's a little late on reaching out. He should have reached out sooner. But it wasn't. I don't know how to explain it. But he has called me in the past few months and not too long ago. and it's hard for me to talk about this, but when I was gonna go to WCW, I had a secret meeting with Kevin Sullivan, JJ Dillon, and they go up to room whatever. So I went up to the wrong room, and there was a bunch of the WCW booking team was there, and I walked in the room and turned around, and walked back out, and one of those guys went and called Paul Lee and said I was there negotiating the contract. So when Kevin Sullivan and JJ Dillon gave me this contract, it was for a lot of money, more money than I can imagine, and I was shitting myself. So I go, I got to take this back to my hotel room and read it. And Kevin goes, read it, just sign it. But really, what I wanted.
Hey, Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
Good. What's going on, bro? Another week.
Another week, huh?
Yes, sir. There it is, right there. By the way, there's one of the greatest guests we ever had. Right there.
Well, let's speak about it. Earlier this week, the wrestling world lost the iconic ECW legend Sabu, who I knew you were a huge fan of, Jimmy. Especially at ECW, and I remember when he came in studio, how excited you were. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you, and you share your thoughts on Sabu the wrestler, and then maybe we could discuss about Sabu the guest or the person that we got to know a little bit. So go ahead, Jimmy.
Sabu the wrestler, if there's a Mount Rushmore for the Extreme, he's obviously on it. I was explaining to Karen, who, of course, Wahoo McDaniel, we know what a tough guy he was, and how physical his matches were, and a lot of his counterparts' matches were back in his time. And I explained to her that if your name is not basically Mick Foley or Terry Funk, Sabu has no physical peer as to what he gave for the business and what he gave with his body for the business. I always found him fascinating, and everything has to work for a presentation to get over. Sabu's entrance music in ECW, the Arabian feel to it, was majestic. Being the son of the Sheik, and knowing what the Sheik was to this business, when the Sheik was basically ECW decades and decades before, just like Abby was, Abdullah the Butcher, and the folks like that. Sabu's presentation was perfect. He was silent but deadly, and I loved it. He never really had to talk much in ECW. His facial expression said it all, especially when he had that magical team with Rob Van Dam. He was a Triple Crown winner there. But let it not be lost the things that Sabu did in other places. His TNA match with Abyss is as far as classic hardcore matches that work, is legendary. He did great work in other places. Most people probably don't even realize, not only that he was the NWA heavyweight champion, I know it doesn't mean as much today, but he did hold the belt, but most people do realize that. Kind of blew my mind to see that in New Japan, Sabu was an IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, a belt that Tatsumi Fujinami held until he went on to bigger and greater things. Sabu did so much in this business and gave so much to this business. Recent events that have come during the week, Mike and I will cover, and I've got some pretty hardcore, and I meant to say hardcore, feelings about some of the things that have come out in the past few days. But as far as the wrestler goes, Mike, what he did for the business and what he was is one of the all-time greats that tell a great story when they do hardcore, not the stuff you see today.
So I don't know if you found it interesting, the two clips that I took from our interview
I did.
with Sabu.
Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if anyone didn't catch why we clipped it like that, basically this. The first one had to do with Bubba Ray, who, Busted Open Radio did their little tribute. They had Sandman on. And, again, respecting the legacy of Sabu. And then the next clip was Paul Heyman. When Paul Heyman screws Sabu out of a WCW contract, right? So Sabu was supposed to sign a contract. He had a problem going on with his mother. Paul Heyman basically screws him over on the deal. There's discussion whether Heyman got a lawyer, and he had Sabu under contract, and then back to the Bully Ray thing or the Bubba Ray thing. You know, when it counted and the guy needed work and he needed money, you heard what Bubba Ray had to say to him, right?
We heard
go ahead.
we heard what we've always heard in this business, Mike. Everybody looks out for number one. Correct?
Yeah.
It's the end game. I don't know, I mean, how do I personally feel about it? Fucking hate it. Hate hearing it. I'm sure you do too. Hate hearing it. Hate hearing that. When Sabu was coming in, you remember how, there's only been a few guests, maybe a handful, that when you give me the call and say, hey, guess who we got? And I hear that it's a Sabu, or in the past a New Jack, or somebody who had a loose cannon type deal, the way you've read about them, from what you figure you never know what you're going to get. And when Sabu came in, Sabu was one of the realest. That's got to be one of the realest interviews. Isn't that what we're after at the end of the day? We want people to be themselves, and Sabu is one of the realest people that we've ever come across, Mike.
If I could share with everybody the behind the scenes of the deal. Listen, Sabu, iconic figure. I wasn't a super ECW guy. I would be lying if I told everybody, oh yeah, I was a huge fan of ECW. I was a fan of ECW because of my partner's passion for ECW. In fact, the background behind me is an official Monte The Pharaoh painting that was done on us, and it's with no surprise that behind me is Roddy Piper, and behind my partner is Rob Van Dam. There's the WWE sign, and there's also the ECW sign. So that shows you where Jimmy was coming from. So my passion for ECW, New Jack, who we had in studio, and our Sabu, our Bill Alfonso, the list is long, right? Sandman. I mean, Christ Almighty, Todd Gordon, who, we'll get into that in a second. But the point of the matter is, originally, when this was happening, the passion I had was the passion that my partner was relaying to me about his love for that organization and his love for this wrestler. So I only know what I read. I'm a fan, just like everybody else. And, like with New Jack, the guy's fucking crazy, right? That's what I'm thinking to myself, right?
Yeah, of course.
Comes in fresh off the passing of his girlfriend/wife. And, we hit with the hard questions early, right? And
Melissa Coates, yeah.
Doing that interview, I listened to this man answer questions. I honestly never, at that point, and since we were doing here, I never had met a wrestler who I felt was so brutally honest about everything that we were asking and answered everything without. Yeah. And most of them do, but with the whole Sabu thing, he won me over like a quarter of the way into the interview, the passion and how he let his raw emotion come out. And, and I'm sorry, maybe I'm just favorite. This show is my favorite show. You won't catch better interviews than Monte The Pharaoh, and Sabu's like a must watch. Yeah. But anyway, the biggest thing that I remember the whole thing was after it's all said and done, Sabu was emotionally drained from this interview. Jimmy and I stand up. He comes on stage just before we take pictures together. And we literally, I would say without exaggeration, we hugged for almost 2 minutes. No one said a word. The three of us just hugged. And when we lost him this week, whenever I would see him on documentaries or I'd see him on somebody else's show, I always remembered what a good man he was, the person that we met in studio. And when I used to hear some bad things about him or whatever else, this was certainly a guy who sacrificed his body for professional wrestling, sacrificed himself for ECW and Paul Heyman's vision, and sacrificed himself for his co-workers, his wrestling friends. And he certainly gained a lot of issues from that, let it be drug issues or emotional scarring, right? Um, so this was a man that at some point was broken. And then, you know, he lost his wife, girlfriend, and certainly took his toll. And he had some financial difficulties, I'm assuming, at least from what he told us. And I was very saddened by it, Jimmy. I was very saddened by it. In fact, I felt that I wanted to run the cable version or New York cable version of that interview that night as a tribute to him, just for the fact that this is a guy who sacrificed himself for everybody and never got the respect he deserved.
I think that he attained the respect that he deserved from the people who knew. I do think that if there is a Mount Rushmore for hardcore wrestling, he's on it. I think his legacy is safe. And you know what happens when you die suddenly and you die young? You're watch this legend grow more, Mike. Watch it grow more. Did he ever get what he really deserved? Was he treated right behind the scenes at the major companies and get what he really deserved? No. Nope. And let me tell you, that day, I watched Sabu for years, just on a tiny TV in a small New York apartment. I watched him for years physically bleed. He didn't just bleed for the business and all those things you spoke of. He spiritually bled for two guys from New York, Mike, for 60 minutes. He spiritually bled all over the room. And this may sound macabre, but it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced since we've been doing this show, Mike.
Yeah.
To throw a little lightness into it, and it's very, typical with me anyway. After that immense group hug and stuff, Sabu, we went outside, and he goes, "Do you got any weed?" And we smoked a bowl together. Sabu was a good guy, man. I mean, they say be careful when you meet your heroes. And look, I don't have too many, but in wrestling, and especially with ECW, he was one of them. He definitely didn't disappoint.
I gotta say, Jimmy, with that ECW group, they have all been. They have Rob Van Dam, Sabu,
Shane,
Bill Alfonso,
the early
Shane
days with
Douglas.
Shane Douglas, my God, how often was he helping us or talking with us and stuff in the early days? He was very supportive of us.
Sandman.
Sandman, forget about it. Sandman's, oh my God.
Francine, great. Even though she hates me.
Francine's great. Come on, she was lovely to you the next day. She wasn't like, "Ew, it's Monty." Stop.
No, she was. She was. Ew, it's
she
Monty.
Was?
Then she put on the face. Yeah.
She didn't like.
Really? What are you gonna do,
dude? She shook her head at me like, you're an awesome dude.
She loved you, bro. She's
like, I can't believe you drove though. She's like looking at me like, how are you here?
and then of course there's Todd Gordon, and it's
Well, Todd is God.
I don't want to make it about this dude, but the thing that's always bothered me,
man.
Look, Van Dam got his flowers. He did well.
Deserved it.
Right? Guys like Sandman, Gordon,
Sabu, Taz.
Sabu.
I know you're gonna tell me Taz. No, Taz is one of them. Trust me. Taz is one of them, Mike. Taz should have gotten more. Look, I'm not saying make him, but God, he should have gotten more. My God.
Yeah, but he got his flowers, though. I mean, he was an announcer. Yeah, he I guess my whole point is,
I'm sorry, Mikey. When you debut a guy, remember that great debut at Madison Square Garden?
Oh, I do. Yes.
He taps out Kurt Angle. He chokes him out.
Yeah.
And it was believable. You got to give me that. It was believable. Yeah. And I'm like, so why would you? Okay, I'm done. You know where I'm going with this.
Go ahead.
You know where I'm going with this. Why pull the plug on it? Why not let him accomplish a few things?
Because I think Vince looked at the picture and said, "This guy's too short,
and
it's just not going to work."
But it's still, if you can pull off that believability with a Kurt Angle, then keep him with the Kurt Angles. No. Why does he have to get in the ring with a Drew McIntyre?
Listen, I can't argue with you on this, because when Taz came, I was excited for Taz. I liked it, Yeah,
Taz was awesome in ECW.
But the thing that still bothers me, and even when I saw the interview, I think to myself, like, Paul, No one owes anybody anything. I get it.
No,
But
that's how it
but
goes.
in my heart of hearts, a guy like Paul Heyman, who is ultra talented, and I guess if you were to turn around and say, just put it in a role playing thing, in a gimmick thing, he probably could be recognized as the greatest manager of all time. I couldn't argue that point.
He's in the conversation, of course.
And he certainly has a brilliant mind. But like
Oh,
at
God,
some
yeah.
point, don't you feel?
Mhm.
We asked Sabu this, and I asked Gordon this every time I talk to him because it bothers me. I always tell you there's origins to everything. And if you're fortunate enough to make
Right.
all this money,
Right.
okay, and I understand you got kids, you take care of your kids, and you want to take care of your grandkids, and blah, 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 blah. But there's origins to something. Guys like Todd Gordon, the Sandman. Look, the Sandman probably made a ton of money, went to WCW. You know what I mean? But again, without these guys, you're not there. You're just not.
Don't forget Raven. Trust me.
Dude, the list is long. I know I'm forgetting a bunch of people.
My
Who's the
God.
guy? Who's the guy
Raven.
that was the manager, the crazy guy with the neck brace? What the fuck was his name?
What, Gertner?
Gertner, yeah.
Well. If it isn't Mike Monty, oh yeah. There was just so much talent. Don't forget little Spike Dudley. You know, there was just so much talent in that company. It was really special too. It was like, you know, it's funny, we make fun of it, but it was our little secret. Bro, it was on cable in Madison Square Garden Network at 2:00 in the morning, and I'm staying up to watch it because I know that the presentation is way different, but I'm getting that it's my little secret vibe that we used to get watching at midnight on Channel 9 back in the day. It was beautiful.
I remember when I had guys working for me, and I was a WWE guy, and the WCW got hot, whatever else, and they're like, dude, you got to watch ECW, you know? And like I said, my passion for that came from you.
Yeah.
One thing I want to bring out that I found pretty disappointing, right, is you know, Joey Janela comes out. I guess he's the guy that had the last match with Sabu. So
well aware of Joey. I know all about him. Been watching him for years. Go on.
He's claiming that Sabu took this drug, cretin, which I heard was a natural painkiller. So I don't even know what that means. But I wanted to ask you your thoughts when you heard this. Were you pissed off? Like you have to come out with this. Like
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. I'm glad you took this direction because that's where I alluded to earlier. This is exactly how I feel about it. Why the fuck? You know what's funny too? I don't know if you watched the final match that Sabu was having with him, but afterwards Joey got on the mic. Now Joey ran that whole promotion. Not sure how fully aware you are of his promotion. He's been doing this for years. He wrote the scripts. He booked everything, whatever. Okay, so after the match, he's like, you know, you're my favorite wrestler ever. He's saying to Sabu, and I thought about it. Here's a guy working his idol, because Sabu's not cold yet, Mike, and we have him coming out and telling everybody about this. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And by the way, I looked into this. You know, this thing that he took before the match. This is one of those things. It's almost like your penis pill at the local head shop. It's like ginseng stuff and whatever. You know, it's a natural supplement. You know, it's a gray area because I don't think the FDA approves any of that stuff, either that or the pills for your pecker. You know, but to come out with this, it's not like, you know, I did an 8-ball with him or he bought a fucking, you know, ounce of heroin. Why even come out with this? I agree, Mike.
Jimmy, I almost think it's
You
respect,
just said he's
right?
Your favorite
Respect
wrestler of all time, and you're doing this.
Well, like respect, right? So let's be fair, right? Sabu just never got the respect that he deserved, right? He just never got it.
Mainstream, no.
And then you're going to take a giant dump on this fucking guy the day after he passes away. I mean, what's the point? What's the point? What if he took heroin? Who cares? What's the point?
So let's ask ourselves this question then. What is there to gain when you say what's the point? What is there to gain by him doing that? More people now talking about him. Wow, man, that's low.
Yeah.
That's low, bro. That is, you know, I'm sorry, you know, and I like Joey Janela, the wrestler, and I've never disliked him on anything. He's a good hardcore wrestler. Never got a chance either with the big time, as far as I'm concerned. But really good at what he does, you know, and for a long time. I've always liked him.
He should
But
be
when I
ashamed
heard,
of Jimmy. He should be ashamed of himself.
when I heard this, I'm like, that's a douchebag move, you know, because at first when I heard it, I was talking to Karen about it. I'm like, what the hell is this stuff? She's a nurse. She's been a nurse forever. I'm like,
Right.
she's like, I never even heard of it, you know? And then I started reading up on it, and it's just one of them supplement things you get in a fucking head shop, bro. It's not something that's gonna, it doesn't seem to be something that was gonna kill. I don't even, like, there's no point, Mike.
Well,
The end.
you know what his point is? His point
Oh.
is, let me say this, then Monte The Pharaoh, for example, will go find this last match that he had with Joey Janela, and then we're going to go see if he was high, right? Any way to get you eyes on you. But
Thank you.
where's your moral
Yeah.
fiber, man?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
have some moral fiber. I mean, look, good.
And I'll tell you what, over the next few days, let's see if anybody else has the balls to say what we're saying.
Of course
Because that's
not.
how it feels.
Of course not.
That's how it feels.
Look, I'm gonna even roll it. I'm gonna roll it into this, Jimmy. Talk about like cheap shots, right? And I want to get back to Sabu because I want to close it. But like, here's a perfect example. Hey, you know, we need attention, so we're gonna have the Ku Klux Klan in our wrestling event.
What is that?
That's who's gonna wrestle. Let's do that also.
What company is this, Mike? I can't see it because of the shades and shit. I gotta
Lucha Libre Arena La Rista. There's swastikas in the corner, Ku Klux Klan. This is top notch, Jimmy. This is top notch independent wrestling we've got going on here, man.
People gonna buy tickets to this? Dude, this is just.
If they do, they should be ashamed.
You know what? I am so fucking numb at this point because after all, we throw Hitler in the same sentence with other folks nowadays. I can't. Oh, wow, what a shock. You know what? Who's going to do anything about it, by the way? Nobody? What is this?
No,
Okay,
you know what people have to start doing? They have to stop going to this shit.
Yeah,
stop supporting it.
That poster is an open book on I hate Jews and I hate blacks.
There you go.
What the hell is going on here? Who the hell would support this and think it's okay?
Well, it looks like if I have a count, every one of these wrestlers that are on his card support this type of nonsense. And every one of them should be banned.
Oh, I'm sure every one of them has a keyboard handle where they tell other people how they should live their lives and that their moral standards are wrong. Dude, we got a sick world going on, and now everybody can just get on a forum. This is out of control, bro. It's out of control.
I'm lost. I'm lost for words.
Absolute garbage.
This is why I personally try. You know, I just don't support independent wrestling because there's no control. It's just a bunch of fucking.
Well, this is just an
nonsense.
Extreme, horrendous
It's
example.
really extreme. Joey Janela's been in the industry. At what point do you not realize that saying this about an iconic guy like Sabu just to get a cheap eye on yourself for a couple of days? Like where, you know, look.
Oh, his fans are going to back him no matter what. He's got a small crowd.
Let me ask you this: how does a guy like Bully Ray, sit there and do this? Oh, I love Sabu bullshit. When the guy really needed you, you weren't there for him. I mean, it's not coming out of my mouth. You heard it out of the guy's mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to... this is where I play Switzerland, but it's really how I feel. Never going to question whether or not Bully Ray loves Sabu. Not going to question that, but there was key moments in his life, as we're pointing out, where you could have probably done more, or possibly done more. I mean, I
want to challenge you with this, Jimmy, and it's fine that you're not going to say, but I'll challenge this. At what point, words are words, actions are actions. Okay,
right.
Okay. So he loves Sabu. He does a tribute to him, but when the actions were needed, he was nowhere to be found.
You know what else I don't think helped Sabu's case? You know how he had the thing with Stephanie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's helping his case at all. And I'm sure that the other co-workers were like, you know, am I going to speak up for him after what happened with him? I'm just saying, man, there's no balls. There's no balls in the room if that's what you're trying to point out. And I get it, though. I'm like, you know what I mean? His thing.
You know, when Sabu's talking about Bully Ray, he's talking about TNA at that point. He wasn't a booker.
No, I understand. TNA, there's no excuse. How's that sound, Mike? Can you go with that?
Listen,
you know,
I agree with you. I am sure that Tommy Dreamer Bully Ray, they loved Sabu. I am sure they did. But when
course.
push came to shove, they
In
took
key
care of
moments.
themselves, right?
Yeah, in key moments for Sabu. That's the problem. And you know what else is the problem too? It's when you're in the penthouse, especially Heyman. Never mind Bully Ray.
Right.
When it comes to Heyman, when you're truly in the penthouse, which Heyman I do believe exists in and has existed in for many, many years in this business. Vince McMahon trusted him and liked him implicitly. This is true. You know what I mean? Like Paul is in well. Okay. How many people have truly been in well with Vince McMahon in his history? Pat Patterson, Gorilla Monsoon, maybe a few other names behind the curtain. Paul's one of them, right, Mike? When
Yeah.
you think about it. So how could Paul not at some point, with his plethora of tentacles to reach out to, whether it's Vince, whether it's Triple H, whoever it may be, to make the move to help Sabu? He could have done it. He had the
That,
power. It's the
Jimmy,
level of power that makes
that
it
is
work.
the point that I
Yeah.
think you're hitting it on the head. It's like at some point you could say, hey, look, Vince, no, you're not a fan, but you know what? I want this guy to make a little bit of scratch. Can you help me out here?
Yeah.
Or how about this? Let's talk about this, right? So we'll go back to Bully Ray for a second, okay?
Okay.
So he doesn't help Sabu, right? Time has passed. He didn't do it. But when he passes, you do a tribute to him, right? What is wrong with saying, you know, guys, on a personal level, now that I look back, I blew it. I should have helped. Just like we said about Mario Mancini, right? It's like you
Yeah.
didn't do anything back then, but there's nothing wrong with asking for forgiveness, especially if you believe in God, right? And it's
Right.
like he didn't do anything wrong. Okay, he just took care of himself. But what I'm saying is that if it's not for a guy like Sabu, some of these people aren't making the money they made. That's all.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm out of line, Jimmy. Maybe if we had Sandman in right now, he'd say, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Shut up.
Yeah, that's possible too.
It is.
I know that all of them together helped make Paul Heyman. And if Paul Heyman is where he is today because of what they built in ECW, and of course Paul Heyman's the main brain frame, but without those cast of characters, like we've pointed out, this is not happening. So it really came down to Paul Heyman could have done more. I don't think that. Look, once ECW is established, of course they're all going to do what's best for themselves, and Bubba and Devon were going to be making it in the business no matter what. The Dudley Boys from first glance was one of those things that could just work in WWE right away. Sabu could have worked fine at WWE, but notice the elimination of, for the most part, over the years, it's gotten less and less, and now I can't think of any. Jinder might have been the last cultural character. We seem to be getting rid of him, and Sabu was definitely a cultural character, and what are we going to do with him? And, Vince wants what Vince wants. Vince never looked at the hardcore thing as anything other than comedy when you think about it, except for Mick. Mick was taking main events.
Can I put it a little bit in more layman's terms, Jimmy?
Yeah.
It's not like Sabu needed $1 million. Maybe someone could have paid his rent for a year. What is that, $12,000?
Right.
Paul Heyman, Bully Ray, they could have shipped $12,000.
So are you suggesting over the years what should have been done anyway, probably, or like a Legends contract where they're taking care of them?
I would think that if I was making the kind of scratch that a Paul Heyman is or a Bully Ray is, I would say, you know what, man, I know you're struggling.
Yeah.
What's your rent cost? I'm going to pay a year's rent. Try to get your shit back on.
Yeah.
I'm not saying.
And you know what? You're right. And I'll tell you why you're right, because, and people are going, who would do that? I'll tell you who would do that, because I just read it, Mike. So it's awesome that you brought this up. Bill Parcells. I just read. Now, Bill Parcells is 80-something years old now. Bill Parcells has been out of the football for a long time, but he made a lot of money because he was one of the greatest coaches ever. Hard ass, but one of the greatest coaches ever. Turns out that over the past couple of decades, Bill Parcells has given over almost something like $20 million to his former players to help do the kinds of things you're talking about. Wow. So that gets back to, if you're in the penthouse, which Bill Parcells is in his profession, or Paul Heyman is in his profession. If you're in the penthouse, there are things you can do to help the folks that got you there.
Jimmy, couldn't say it any better. And here's a fact. This dude's in the penthouse.
Mm-hmm.
How much has this guy done for wrestlers? As much as the wrestling experts want to claim that, he's a piece of shit, he has taken care of the guys who have gotten him to where he ended up being. That is a fact.
You just heard John Noy, the Berserker, last week talk about the gift that he sent when his baby was born. Like, the little things.
Yeah, that's right.
What I mean?
That's right.
I don't know. It seems like most of the time that we've had anybody talk about Vince, and we've had plenty of legendary guests, they don't feel the way that these internet trolls feel about Vince.
So let me play you this, since we're talking about Vince. John Cena getting a little bit of flack from reporters on the internet for his support of Vince. Let's play the video.
Action from WWE. Were you surprised when the reaction from WWE fans when you said that you still love Vince McMahon?
No, because everybody's entitled to their opinion. Just like I'm entitled to have an emotional connection to somebody. I don't hold anybody or how they feel or what what they view as permissible or things that'll make them angry, happy, excited, sad. That's their right as a human being. I'm not surprised about any of that.
What a great answer.
The guy's brilliant, dude. He's a brilliant human being, period.
Yeah, and you can feel him making sure that he says the right words. I mean, my God, and he said the right words.
But he's saying, Jimmy, he says the right words.
But they have the right meaning.
But like, it's from the heart. It's like, I love this man. I will always love this man.
Right.
I understand the accusations behind him. But you know what I mean?
I have a right to an emotional connection with someone. Wow. Seriously, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Just as I have the right to have an emotional connection to someone. I don't hold anybody's, good Lord. He would have made a great captain on the Yankees back in the 90s. Thank God Jeter was a lot like him. Right? I mean, my God. What a guy. What a guy.
We love his father. And there's no doubt he's the man he is because of who his father is. I mean, they're two of a kind.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't hate on John Cena.
Right.
You believe what you want to believe. No one's going to sway me from what I believe. I give The Undertaker credit for that too. Right. It's like, they realized that Vince made them millionaires and Vince took care of them like they were his own. That was his father.
Right. Exactly. And there were plenty of others too. We've had plenty of others in that have said nothing but good things about him. So,
keeping on the John Cena deal, dude.
By the way, John Cena has made it foolproof now with me. You know how I always hated John Cena's good guy character.
Absolutely.
But I always respected and knew John was a good human being. And then, of course, having his father on, that just, enhanced that even more, that we knew John was a good person. Now that he's turned heel, and it's funny, I find this funny that you're lukewarm about him turning heel, and I'm going nuts. I love John Cena, so now he's become foolproof. Now there's a portion of his career that I totally loved him as a in-ring guy.
Well, John Cena to me is the ultimate good guy, right? So I do like his heel work, but I will tell you, age and father time have caught up to him a bit. These matches are very slow.
Yes.
I'm not a big wrestling guy. And you know what I mean? Like, mic work is more important to me, and his mic work is as fantastic as always.
Right.
But his bumps are as bad as Vince McMahon's, like, back in the day. It's just like, they've become really bad. Jimmy, real quick, I posted a picture of Amy Schumer and John Cena. A little bit of old news, but they did that movie Trainwreck. And she claims John Cena. Well, she claims John Cena actually entered her during filming. Thoughts on that?
Gave her an attitude adjustment, huh?
Well, I guess the fake having sex is supposedly happened for real.
I'm gonna go with and of course I don't know any better than you. We thankfully we weren't in bed with them when it was going on. Could you imagine that horror show? But I'm gonna go with you wish, Amy Schumer.
Wow.
Your career sucks, and you ain't funny. So basically, the pleasure was all yours to come up with the story, and I really doubt that John was like, "Hey, you know what I'm gonna?" Because it sounds so consistent with John's character, doesn't it? Hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put my wiener in her, and no one's gonna know. Like, come on, get out of here. You know, you wanted your soundbite, you wanted your attention, you got it, and now you got us talking about you until never.
So
You know,
can
whatever.
I ask you, last Saturday, was that the worst pay-per-view backlash that you've ever seen? What was your opinion on that?
Yeah, it was there. I mean, I'm getting better and better at picking this shit because I just don't care anymore. It's funny when you don't care anymore. All of a sudden, you see everything clearly.
I got to be honest with you. I said to myself, why am I watching this on a Saturday night? Like, there was like 80 other things I could have watched. And I'm like, this is just bad. But I want to bring this up. How did you like the Lyra Valkyrie, right? Am I pronouncing that right?
Valkyrie, yeah, go on.
Against Becky Lynch. And supposedly Lyra's
Okay.
fiance was at ringside and Becky was attacking him. But I wanted to share this with you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I guess Lyra got a little excited wrestling Becky Lynch, as you've heard of breast sweat, right? We've got a little vag sweat going on from a little backlash. You got a little backlash in the outfit. What are you thinking there, buddy?
That's back leakage. It's not backlash. The hell's wrong with you? And by the way, why is that on the
Wait a minute,
internet?
you're saying that's sweat from the back that isn't vag leakage?
It's not. Well, I think it's vag leakage. But
Well, look at the fiance with a guy that looks like that. Wouldn't your vag be leaking of all wanting sex? Look at that guy. What is she thinking about?
I'd be as dry as the Sahara. What's wrong with you? Are you kidding me? That's her.
Yeah, take a look. I'll put it up
He
again.
looks like the lead singer from America.
I don't know, man.
On the first day of the journey. No, we're not going with that. No, that's not good.
You're not going.
Why? How did that get on the internet anyway? What, the cameraman decided to zoom in on a sweaty crotch?
It wasn't a sweaty. It was leakage, dude. There was leakage there.
What are you suggesting? She was peeing or having an orgasm? What are you getting at?
Okay, so the
How do you have an orgasm?
joke is that the boyfriend was ringside and she got turned on by Becky fucking with the boyfriend. That's the joke. The reality of it is, you've heard all the stories of wrestlers, right? They take a big bump and either shit their pants or pee their pants, right? So.
Oh, you think she peed herself?
Yeah, she just definitely peed herself.
Wow.
Shit happens, right?
That's the end of that push. She pushed.
I wanted to get into this with you. It seems nowadays that, remember graduating school, the excitement.
No. I went to night school.
Wrong person. So when you graduated night school, what was the celebration like?
The celebration?
Yes.
I got a piece of paper in the mail and I rolled a joint.
All right. This is the wrong guy to do this bit with, but so I'll try to help you out. So when you graduate, you take your hat and you throw it up and everybody cheers. And that's the way we used to do it. It was very exciting. In today's day and age, this is what they do. And I found this to be a little disturbing. What do you think of that?
What do I think? What's scary is that popped up in my YouTube feed. I saw it, and I was like, okay, so that's what these people do. And this, what school was that?
I have asking me what school it was.
Information. I want to make sure I never pass through the area. I mean, what kind of weird ass? What was that? It was weird.
Guess that's how you graduate. You jump around like a fucking clown, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know what that was, bro. That was weird. What's next? Jonestown?
Here's next. This is true to your heart. I knew this would
come
touch
on, man. I've had a rough week with cats. Why are you showing me cats? What?
Well, this is what's going on. Feline TV fanatic drops everything when favorite show theme song begins. There are so many ways to relax after a stressful day, including vegging out on the couch while watching your favorite TV show. Whether it's historical romance like Bridgerton or a guilty pleasure reality show, a little television can be a wonderful distraction. So this cat enjoys watching TV. What do you think?
That's it? The cat watches TV? I've had plenty of my cats watch TV.
Well,
I had a
do
cat
tell.
that-
I don't have a cat. Do they do that often?
You know what's weird? The dogs watch TV too. What, you never had your dog will suddenly, like, you notice the dog is watching the show?
Once in a while, like my dog will watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, but besides that, not much.
Yeah. No, cats become transfixed on TV. I've seen them stare for hours.
Can I ask you, like when you were watching porn in your younger days, did your cats watch porn with you?
You have your pets in the room when you're doing villainous deeds, huh, Mike?
I don't know.
That's interesting. Usually I preferred not even a fly get in the room if I'm doing something like
you kick the animal out if you decide this is the moment of time.
I love how you have
it's time for the cat to leave.
I love how you have me basically being like Jennings from the Giants, like taking the cat and punting it. Like, I kicked the animal out of the room, sails across the living room, bounces off the fridge while I go spank the monkey to porn chub.
But no, seriously,
Excellent.
do you take the cat and like put it outside the door and close the door? Like, how does that work?
Mike, it's like 1981. Do you think I even remember what I was doing? I mean, like when we first discovered we got things that do funny things, sure. But I mean, my God, I can't even remember.
Things that do funny things?
Yeah, it's like, wow, wait a minute, what is this? And then I get a phone call from you. Let's go down to Northport, Jugs. Come on, bro. You were there.
All right, here's your favorite time. You ready?
Yeah.
Shut up and wrestle.
One more time.
Shut up and wrestle.
You ready for another episode of Shut Up and Wrestle?
Toasting waffles again. She's in her underoos. Yeah, I'm ready. Shut up and wrestle.
All right, I've actually got two videos, my friend. So this one is Damian Kemp, former NXT star, who we had the first interview after he got released. Damian, from what I understand, is trying to be a singer.
So not again.
Well, seems to be the way.
Why do you do this to me?
Are you ready?
No.
Is where they play. Pull the boat of a party on the bank. Find two reals best in the world.
First of all, you're gonna think that I believe he's singing that song, or if he is, how much auto tune and
oh my God!
It's like, come on already, will you please?
Thank you. I mean, you sure you got enough phase to bury the fact that there's nothing going on here? And let's enlarge it and make it loud. That's the way they do it now. Let's make it loud as we can without the thing, going off the meter chart. Oh, the little knob here says we got to put it right here as loud as we can. And lots of phase. This started with the Paris Hilton shit, by the way. This has been going on a long time, Mike.
Well, listen, I get it. Get someone famous. Well, first of all, Damian Kemp's not famous, but in the Paris Hilton thing, get a hot, famous girl and use your producing talents to make her sound right. But again,
I wrote This Life for that.
That's with
Bart. We wrote This Life for that, me and Bart. Are you fucking kidding me? What a fucking insult. You talked about Sabu. Hey, should I point to the sky?
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck?
I mean, look, we made fun of
what we just heard. That's processed, plastic, artificial garbage. And by the way, his voice, if you pull it apart, because I already pulled it apart. Come on, man. You know my ears.
Well, let's play it again so everybody hears what you're talking about. Then
his
you can explain
voice is the low one. The low one.
All right, here we go.
They jammed in a bunch of other. Go on. Yeah.
Is where they play. Pull the boat of a party on the.
I understand what you're saying there. That low is him, and they're topping it with other people.
Take away all those other layers. He's like, it's like, oh my God, bro, really? You think you're a musician now, huh?
Well, think about it this way. Joe Hendry and Jeff Hardy, I give at least more credit because they're actually singing. Well, this is ridiculous.
Well, they're attempting the organic, and they do deserve credit for that. It's a guy with a guitar. That's how Bob Dylan made himself famous, There's no cheating there. And those other two, this is just cheating. This is just production nonsense. It's nonsense. This is the kind of shit that Eddie Kramer would be like curled in a fucking ball.
So
oh my God.
In episode 4 of Shut Up and Wrestle, what is your opinion of
God, no. You know what? I'm going to fucking ad-lib it too. Shut the fuck up and wrestle. How's that sound?
Wow.
Yeah.
You heard
Shut
it from the
fuck
Pharaoh.
up. Please. Iron Maiden. Where's Bruce? My God. Go on.
All right, I got another one for you, dude. I just got to find it. All right, we got another shut up and wrestle, but hold on. Got to always start with the lead.
Shut up and wrestle. Shut up and wrestle.
So
Are you ready?
ridiculous. Yep. Go ahead.
That is some of the worst producing ever, I got to
It's
tell you.
hilarious.
But it's so bad, it's funny, right?
But it's part of the charm of this show. Go on. Who's the next
All right,
video?
here we go.
Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you're never coming around.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on, dude. Like, I know Jericho's part of Fozzy, but that just shows how bad a singer he is, too. I'm sorry.
God, that was funny. Play it again.
All right, hold on.
Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you're never coming around.
Dude, listen to that crowd. Give me a break. Oh my God. Like, you would think he was just killing it, man. And Wilson's on stage right now.
You weren't moved by that? Listen to the sincerity. Clang. Where's Chuck Barris? You know, to do the Mean Gene, the dancing machine comes out, the clang. You know, I mean, wow. That was very funny though. Thank you. I needed that laugh, especially with this week. But that's truly hilarious. You know what's really sad here? It's so bad. I'm almost willing to say, yeah, shut up and wrestle, but I'll watch a few more minutes of that. You guys are terrible.
Well, let me give you a little more. I'll give you a little more.
They're terrible.
Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you're never coming around. Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of listening to the sound of my tears.
Oh, come on, bro. That is just so bad. Come on, man.
I love it. It's awful. Wow. That is, oh my God, did they jump the shark? That's incredibly corny and terrible. It's funny.
Shut up and wrestle.
Yeah, guys, please, by all means, if you really want to still be taken seriously in this business, Jericho, shut the fuck up and wrestle.
Unbelievable.
Oh my God. Oh,
Good
my,
stuff.
brutal.
Jimmy, I got to tell you, this is slowly becoming my favorite bit of all time.
Oh.
Dude, you don't run out of material, dude. You just don't run out of material.
No, there's plenty to go around.
I mean, you got this fucking guy, Damon Kemp, with all due respect. It's like, dude, you're running around trying to promote this fucking album. It's like, why don't you just have somebody else sing it? Why don't you just Milli Vanilli it, dude? Because it's like, that's what you did anyway. Like, if anyone even thinks that's you, it's not.
And there's nothing to it either. I mean, if you listen to whatever so-called music is going on behind it, I
hate to go back to it, but I'm gonna add. Let's. Okay, we talk about music and the soul of music and the lyrics of music, right?
Yeah.
What is this about? Let's find out. What is this man singing about? What's the emotional draw? Hold on.
You're gonna.
Is where they play. Hold a boat of a party on the bank. Wine till wheels best in the world.
Midwest girl? Like, what is that?
I have no idea.
Nothing better than a Midwest girl. Is that country rock? Is that what they're doing nowadays?
Well, it has overtones of it. You know what? As you say that, but at least from the country current scene that I hear out here on the radio, there's guitars, there's like Tom Petty sounding lead guitar solos, there's nice harmonies. And I actually heard Eagles influences in a song the other day when I was driving around with Karen. I was like, okay, you know, I still haven't embraced it because I'm not a country fan at heart, but at least I'm hearing Eagles, I'm hearing stuff like that. Well, all I hear here, Mike, is an electronic processed lump of shit. That's how it sounds to this ear. And that's it. You know,
Jimmy.
his subject matter is not going to exactly, this is not back in the USSR. I don't think that the Russian teens are going to be running and hiding their Beatles albums, and I don't think the Midwestern girls are going to be doing that in this case. And if they are hiding them, it's probably because they're embarrassed.
Dude, it's literally like you're trying, like you've
Yeah.
done nothing, right? I'm
Mhm.
sure you didn't write the song either. You probably found some wrestling dude to write a song for you or something like that.
Who
And
knows?
it's like, it's
No
not
idea.
even you. Like, how
No
can
idea.
you think that's even you? It's like, God forbid
Right.
you did become famous. Like,
Yeah.
you got to go
Yeah.
on stage with that. You're going to be able to sing. What, are you going to lip sync your way through it?
Right. Yep. Got to be able to do it all.
Anyway, to everybody, shut up and wrestle.
Yes, please.
Jim Ross announces colon cancer diagnosis, surgery pending.
Oof.
Jim Ross has had quite of a bad run lately, Jim Pharaoh.
Well, I hate hearing anything bad about JR. I mean, that's not good. I don't know what more to add to that other than that's not good. I don't want to hear that about JR. You know, what's your take on JR? What do you think of JR? I always get the feeling that part of you is not as impressed with JR as others are. Now, as far as an announcer, I think he's one of the top 3 greatest. He's in the conversation with Gordon. Trying to think who else would be in that company.
Early days of JR was not a fan.
All right.
But as he progressed, I found him to be very entertaining. I found that his announcing was a mixture of Gordon Soley / Gorilla Monsoon, like a mixture of a bunch of guys, right?
But distinctively himself, though.
Absolutely. I mean, if you told me you felt he was the greatest announcer ever in wrestling,
it's not my personal favorite, but I think that he would probably be most people's pick. My personal is Gordon, but
I will tell you this, and people might get offended by this. I remember when they parlayed him to the XFL when Vince was making that run. Yeah. He could not call football.
I'm not surprised. Actually, we should be a little surprised because he was such a lover of, what was it, his Oklahoma?
Yeah, Oklahoma Sooner. Yeah.
Not mistaken. So maybe I am a little surprised. But look, it's a completely different deal. You're calling a match. I mean, what's the worst case scenario? You got a 6-man tag team match. Maybe you got to call a Royal Rumble. But things are happening one at a time usually. In football, you got to keep track and know the names of 53 guys on each roster, or whatever the rosters were for the XFL. Right. Probably not 53, but there's a lot more to go on when you're announcing a football game.
You know what? That's really good, valid point. And to be a play-by-play guy for football is probably much more difficult than being a play-by-play guy for wrestling, right? I mean, if I was to ask you, Jimmy, if you were to be an announcer just for wrestling, we'll use wrestling for example. Would you want to be the color guy or would you want to be the play-by-play?
I think I'd make a much better color guy.
Could you do play-by-play?
I would probably get really good at it, but I would have my bumps along the way.
That's fair. It's a fair analysis. Play-by-play is very difficult, but I will tell you that when guys like Excalibur do it, I find it not enjoyable because it's this whole like, I don't know, they come up with these names for these moves, and it's just like smart mark announcing. It's like, my God. Like, why does every move have to have like a fucking ridiculous name to it? It's like
there was, of course, Mike Tenay, right? I mean, everybody knows the name Mike Tenay. Mike Tenay, look, to me, the best quality an announcer can have is his ability to sell the match that he's calling. JR was the greatest at that. Okay, he really was. Go back and listen to some of his play-by-plays and some of the most, especially whether it's Foley with the Taker and stuff. Good God, he's dead. Things like along those lines. Mike Tenay started to, in my opinion, this nerd factor thing you're talking about, where you feel like you're just listening to somebody do a smart mark analysis instead of the excitement and the selling of the match, the convincing translation from announcer to fan at home about what he's watching happen in front of him. And that was what made JR so great. And Mike Tenay, to me, hey, look, I respect him. I think he did his job well, but he certainly never sold a match. Not in my opinion.
I mean, I'm going to say, Jimmy, I thought Tenay sucked. I hated it. I
If
hate
he
it.
never sold you on anything, he was
No.
giving you information. And if you want information nowadays, we know all we got to do is type into our phone. We don't
I
need
mean,
information.
you could give me Pat
Yeah.
McAfee any day of the week, and I got
Oh, he's funny. I
you
like
know,
McAfee. Yeah, you can give me Monsoon and Heenan. You
how
know,
about Wade? How about Wade?
Wade
How
is
good is
very
that
good.
guy, dude?
Wade is very good. Corey is great at what he does.
I got to tell you, now that Wade's in the mix and
I
McAfee's
love
in the
Wade.
mix, I've lost my taste for Corey Graves.
We
I
had
thought he was
Corey for a
good, but
very long time.
I think he's definitely a second tier. How's that?
I don't feel he's second tier. I think that he got moved to second tier because they found something fresh. Corey was very great for a long time. We loved Corey for many years.
Right.
Maybe right now it's in a recess mode. Who knows? Down the road, maybe Wade will get tired of doing this and go back across the pond, and Corey will be called back up, and he'll be met with open arms, and the fans will love that he's back. You know, it's one of those things. It's just one of those things.
Well, time is
happens.
flying, dude. So I really want to talk to you about Backlash.
All right.
Is WWE losing its? Well, first of all, I grabbed the wrong Backlash, but that's okay. What do you want from me, man?
That's great.
That's
That
when
looks like a good match. Who
that's
won?
when people watching this show should say this to me. Hold on. They should say,
Shut up and wrestle.
You got to get the shut in. All we hear is up and wrestle.
All right, let's try again.
Shut up and wrestle.
You know what?
Shut up and wrestle.
There you go. Yeah, that's better. Okay.
I feel like the WWE's losing steam. When I start reading the dirt sheets talk about like Triple H is in trouble, I don't believe it, but I am slowly not enjoying it. I got to be honest with you.
Maybe it feels blasé right now. Look, there had to be a hangover. We called it, okay? There had to be a hangover after that incredible 4-year run with the Bloodline storyline. There had to be a hangover.
Yeah.
We both knew that Cody's he did a good job. He did a good job, but we both knew that we were going to be faced with very obvious booking. And we knew that Cody would hold it for a certain length. That we all saw what would happen at WrestleMania with John. I felt John was going to win. You felt John was going to win. It was like, okay, here's John. John's great. I think John is keeping it relevant, at least, with what he's doing right now. But everything is kind of predictable. Did anybody really think Randy Orton was going to leave with the title?
No.
See, we're back to everything is safe right now, and that's the problem. Roman Reigns might have held that belt for 4 years, and a pessimist could say, oh, that's the safest booking ever. The champion just keeps winning. But the difference was when Roman got in the ring, you always wondered, as you've said so many times, is this the night that he loses? And then he would have those moments in the match where you'd go, oh, shit, tonight's the night. He's going to lose. That intrigue that was created and established and sustained over those 4 years with Roman had to be a hangover after that. And Cody, while today's generation said, he's the one, he's our guy, we both know how vanilla this is, right? We both know.
I certainly think Roman Reigns is even proving himself much more important to that organization than we ever thought, right?
Yeah. Well, look, it took 8 years of people complaining about him, and then 4 years of people never wanting anything to change. You know,
Right.
It makes me laugh, but he's the king. That's his castle. He's the Undertaker in that locker room now. You know that. Taker's not there no more. When he's in that locker room, he's the number one guy.
Here's a little shocking news. Karrion Kross did his little thing after WrestleMania, and right now he's got the number one T-shirt sales in the WWE. Do you think this guy finally found his footing in the WWE, or you think it's just a flash in the pan type of deal?
Not till I see it in the booking. Karrion Kross is one of the biggest disappointments in recent memory. You know what Karrion Kross is capable of. What the hell kind of booking has this been? When he popped up on Raw that first, or SmackDown, whichever one it was, and stared at Roman.
Right.
What, you didn't buy into that? Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
Did I. And he's there with Scarlett. How better could this be? Right? You give him that kind of booking afterwards, forget it. You fucking ruined him. So until I see it in the booking, and we know that this can happen, it can happen. It can turn around. Drew McIntyre went from fucking 3MB to years later, look what he's doing. It can happen. But man, you're gonna have to show me. Because Karrion Kross is one of the biggest wastes in recent memory. It's a waste.
I look at Karrion Kross as a guy that had everything, and it just doesn't work. And when
Not the way
he
it's
was
been
in
booked.
when
Not
he's
the
in
way it's been booked.
NXT, they had it, and
It worked.
I don't know you want to blame Vince for that. Okay, that's all well and good. But
Yeah.
the funny thing is, when people talk about Mr. McMahon, he seems to be right about almost everything. It may take a little time for things to come to fruition, but he always seems to be on
And you know what?
board.
You know what though? To his credit though, if he thinks that something isn't worth it, if you show him, if you go out and prove him wrong, he'll push it.
Oh fuck yeah, he will.
Otherwise, you never would have seen Drew back. You never would have seen him back. You never would have seen Bobby Lashley taken from TNA. You never would have seen AJ Styles taken from TNA. If you prove to him, like, oh shit, you know what? Okay, I'll push you. You know, AJ Styles is a WWE legend now. How's that sound to the folks who watched him for almost a decade or decade plus, whatever, in TNA, where he was the guy? He's a WWE legend now. Too bad.
I want to remind everybody within the next couple of weeks we will have Val Venus in studio. We will have Coco Beware makes his third return. This is Val Venus' second appearance, right? It's been about 5 years since we've had him, right?
This is his third. Yeah, this will be his third one. Yeah.
5 years though, you'd say?
Oh, we did Pile Driver with him at Indy. So yeah.
No, Val Venus. I'm talking about Val Venus.
Oh, Val. Was Val ever at Indy, Mike? I don't even remember.
He was not at Indy. So did we do two at Village, or we only did one at Village?
Then it's been like 6-7 years, man. It's been a long time.
And then we're also going to have Eric Embry, WCCW legend. Eric Embry will be in studio.
Ooh, I like that one.
By the way,
I like that one.
Go ahead. Why?
He's the one of my earliest memories of watching Florida Championship Wrestling on UHF. Eric Embry was a big deal down there.
Yeah, we got some big interviews. What did you think about Jordan Blue Friday?
Jordan Blue was very cool. It was very cool. And you didn't make a mess underneath your table. I'm very proud.
You don't think I did, but I did.
Oh, you did?
And I told her too. I said,
so you had. I
made a mess.
You had why didn't you take a photo and like a wet spot,
Well, because that's not. I don't want to be nasty. I mean, come on.
What, hers isn't nasty?
I have class, Jimmy. I have class. Thank you.
Yeah, but you made me look at that nasty thing earlier. We might as well. I mean, hey, folks, here it is, Sweaty Monty. No.
So we got some big lineups coming in. I wanted to give a shout out to a friend of the show, and we miss him dearly, Mike Mantor. His birthday was earlier this week. We lost Mike, a year ago, Jimmy? 2 years ago. I'm sorry. It blends so much. I can't remember.
It feels like it's getting closer to 2 for all I know. I mean, everything's a blur.
You could catch Mike's last interview ever with Jimmy Pharaoh in studio. That's in our eye caves.
I loved him, man. He was so cool. He really was. But like I told you, when we were staring at him, I said, Mike, he's too big. This is the biggest guy I think I've ever seen.
That one hurt.
Yeah.
That one hurt.
He was a sweet guy. No doubt.
That one hurt. I don't know what else. Anyway, Jimmy, we'll be back with at 9:00 with pro wrestling agent Richie Sorrentino. We're not going to give him softballs, whether he thinks we are or not. It's not happening. So
softballs? What's that?
Yeah. Well, okay. I think he might think we're going to give him softballs or something. Like we're going to ask him non-softball questions. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. Know that he's been dealing with us for years. He must have an idea by now. I would.
Well, we're gonna find out. Anyway, you want to send us out, Jimmy?
You've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh, and we'll see you all shortly.
Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you're never coming around. Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of listening to the sound of my tears. Every now and then I get a little bit nervous that the best of all the years have gone by.